Animation tends to feature memorable antagonists that leave a long-lasting impression on our narrative taste that molds greater expectations when consuming media.
Huh?
Villains can be brilliant, menacing, ruthless, but also charming, amusing, and flat-out hilarious. And of course, villains can be batshit insane. And then there's Bill Cipher, who's all of the aforementioned, while also being a floating triangle. Bill Cipher is without a doubt one of my favorite villains in animation. Has our growing backlog of content on him not give that away? Something that causes this man to still give me chills for years after the conclusion of Gravity Falls is thinking about everything that went on off screen. Bill Cipher is a con man, someone who knows how to get what he wants, no matter how long the con itself is, embarking on a scheme that spanned thousands, if not trillions of years. And even though he ultimately was defeated, there was a small window of time, the event referred to as Weirdmageddon, where Bill won. So today, I want to go through this plan, the origins and timeline of Bill Cipher, what we saw in and out of episodes in order, how Bill went from just another flat shape in the second dimension to the demon who unleashed an apocalypse. I'm going to show the world just how clever Bill manages to be, and maybe you'll even walk away with a greater appreciation for him. With all that said, let's dive in. Cipher's story begins a very long time ago in the second dimension, a home he greatly detested, describing it as flat minds in a flat world with flat dreams. And according to an interview with Entertainment Weekly back in 2015, Alex Hirsch went as far as to say, if you think Stan's relationship with his family is bad, Bill's is worse. And in his own Reddit AMA, when questioned on if he has a family, Bill simply responded, not anymore. We can infer that the inhabitants of the second dimension tend to be a little bit vanilla. The dimension as a whole was just boring. Not much was going on. No one really had any big aspirations. No one was down to get weird and party. Although not much is known about Bill's species, I assume his array of abilities are just native, so it probably aggravated him to no end that those surrounded by him also had access to limitless knowledge, because he simply did nothing with that knowledge. They were stick in the muds. He didn't see eye to eye with anyone there because they were the exact opposite of him. So how did Bill cope with the situation? Obviously, he would do what any rational person would do and use his fire abilities to burn down his dimension, incinerating it to his last molecule, and committing genocide upon his entire species, including his family. Wait, what? Yeah, that's pretty messed up. Bill appears to have an affinity towards fire. Those blue flames are absolutely his go-to throughout the series. Like, if you ever wanted to know Bill's middle name, it's Arson. Although this was a completely psychotic act, we know through the almighty axolotl that Bill wasn't completely content with this decision. But we can't disrupt the timeline. So, staying on track, after being fresh out of a home dimension, Bill was finally free, which would lead him to conquer the Nightmare Realm. An intergalactic wasteland between dimensions that houses some of the most despicable criminals throughout the multiverse. Much to Bill's liking, it lacks any rules. However, it's unfortunate that that also applies scientifically, as a lack of physics caused the Nightmare Realm to collapse in on itself. Conquering the Nightmare Realm was fine, but at the end of the day, Bill felt as if he traded in one prison for another. He wanted to spread his liberation of rules and order across all of existence. However, during this reign, Bill learned of a prophecy, one that was just music to his ears. The prophecy spoke of a day where Bill would successfully merge the Nightmare Realm with the third dimension, conquering the Earth, and shortly after, the entire solar system. The event prophesized in question would be referred to as Weirdmageddon. But in order to achieve Weirdmageddon, Bill needed to figure out a way to manifest himself inside that reality. Being a dream demon and all, he lacks a proper physical form that would allow him to cross over into the third dimension. But he's still able to wander into the minds of others, and that includes possession. So if he pulls a few strings, in theory, he'd be able to manipulate a human being into forging a gateway between Earth and the Nightmare Realm, properly adopting the title of Bill Cipher, as his true identity would apparently evaporate one with an expression of horror and ecstasy on their face. Bill tried to get in with the ancient Egyptians, who attempted to create a portal for Bill, but alas, it only functioned for 10 minutes, unleashing a jackal-headed man from the Nightmare Realm, Anubis. Furious, Bill tormented the Egyptians with nightmares, and in an attempt to appease him, the Egyptians erected giant stone tributes in Bill's image. But the arms and top hats broke off and eroded over time, becoming the pyramids we know today. But Bill didn't give up, and set his sights on the natives of a place with unusual paranormal activity, Gravity Falls. Right off the bat, Bill knew exactly what kind of person he would target in order to achieve Weirdmageddon. Those who had questions that they felt needed to be answered. Those who were intelligent, much more capable than the rest, but someone just dumb enough to con into an apocalypse. One of Bill's earliest examples actually being a shaman named MODOK. Through the invisible link and codes found in Journal 3, we can decipher what went down between Bill and MODOK the Wise. As Bill's first pawn in what would become Gravity Falls, MODOK was instructed to erect an interdimensional gateway between the Nightmare Realm and Earth. Although this portal was made out of wood, and with MODOK being a shaman and all, I assumed this portal would have been powered through spells and other forms of magic. MODOK was also responsible for inscribing the incantation that brought Bill into Ford's life. Although it's unknown, but in my opinion doubtful, if MODOK inscribed the Zodiac that would be used to vanquish Bill. And I say it's doubtful because when MODOK discovered that he was being used by Bill, learning of Cipher's prophecy, not only did he destroy the wooden portal, but he set himself ablaze, ending his life and any further possibility of Bill's manipulation. And yeah, as you guys probably already know from the main series, is that Bill's association with fire is made pretty clear. From here on out, we can assume that Bill rained havoc on the other natives of Gravity Falls, as at some point, they were provided with the information needed to create the Zodiac with 10 symbols that would be used to temporarily vanquish Bill. However, with the incantations left in the cave, Bill would not remain separated from Gravity Falls for long. Eventually, Gravity Falls would be populated by Quentin Tremblay and other pioneers, and in the meanwhile, Bill would have two significant encounters, as Bill would eventually cross paths with none other than George Washington, whom Bill aided by giving the secrets to defeat the British. I'm not even making this up. But when Washington's attempt at a steam-powered portal sunk into the swamp, Bill plagued him with nightmares so severe that Washington ground his teeth into dust in his sleep, having to compensate with wooden replacements. Hoping to satiate Bill's bloodlust, Washington added him onto the $1 bill. And let's really think about this. Every depiction of Bill is a gateway he can see through. Think of how many $1 bills exist. Yeah, Bill has eyes everywhere. Bill also helped Stanley Kubrick fake the moon landing. Bill was hoping Kubrick could convince NASA to build a portal, but when the proposal was rejected, Bill once again unleashed a plague of nightmares, which, in a twist of fate, actually ended up helping Kubrick's film career. And at some point in time, we know that Bill encountered Rick Sanchez, as one of Rick's vials found in Morty's Mind Blowers is labeled Bill C. Rick is probably the best person you could go to for a portal, until you realize he's a pretty big asshole. But Bill's own ball would not be rolling until the tale of two stands began to unfold. The curious mind that is Stanford Pines arriving in Gravity Falls, spending 6 years researching the town for its anomalies. However, after hitting a roadblock while researching the origins for all the anomalies in Gravity Falls, Ford decided to do a little bit of hiking, clear his mind, and maybe he'll find something new along the way. And find something new he did, stumbling upon the cave full of incantations, reciting them aloud, and allowing Bill Cipher to enter Ford's life. Encountering Stanford must have been like Christmas to Bill. Such a very intelligent and sharp mind, clouded by childhood trauma and insecurity. Tough luck with bullies, his own parents, and even his twin brother. Might as well be wearing a shirt that says emotional vulnerability. Introducing himself to Ford in a dream and impressing him with a display of limitless knowledge, Bill quickly had his new pawn. Revealing to Stanford that the supernatural occurrences in Gravity Falls is due to a rift between dimensions, Bill was able to get development on Ford's portal underway. However, things quickly grew complicated as Ford involved another partner, Fiddleford McGucket. Although McGucket was eager to provide Ford with help and make history along the way, being Ford's old college roommate, he was able to recognize what ideas felt off, what felt like Stanford, and what felt like someone else. Fiddleford was able to see what Stanford couldn't see. As Stanford spiraled further and further into an obsession, transforming his home into the Church of Cipher, Fiddleford kept his guard up, aware that something was off, unaware that Stanford's body was being possessed by a floating triangle. However, things came to a head on January 18th, 1982, the night where the interdimensional portal was finally ready for its first big test. However, after Fiddleford was tangled up into the rope and briefly sent through the portal himself, he was met with the horrifying image of Bill removing his exoskeleton in order to feast. After being recovered by Stanford, Fiddleford's mind was absolutely warped, speaking absolute nonsense before reciting a prophecy of his own. When gravity falls and earth becomes sky, fear the beast with just one eye. Fiddleford promptly quit the project, straying off into his own adventure that would become the Society of the Blind Eye, which, yeah, we know how that turns out. But Stanford just lost another friend. He finally let someone in after so long, and he ended up driving him away in the name of science? Things finally began to click with Stanford, like for real this time. The loss of Fiddleford finally instilled enough doubt for Ford to confront Bill. However, Cipher has absolutely no fucks given, asserting to Stanford, yes, this portal is meant for something horrible, horribly fun. And with this, Ford learns of Bill's intentions with Weirdmageddon. Ford shut the project down and shut Bill out of his head, doing so with the installation of a metal plate inside his head. Of course, Ford will recruit his twin brother Stanley in an attempt to get Stanley to take Journal 1 and bury it as far as possible from Ford. This led to a fight, as Stan was furious to hear that his brother reached out to him for the first time in years, only to tell him, hey, get this thing and you as far away from me as possible. They fight, Ford mistakenly stumbles into the portal and traverses the Nightmare Realm alongside other interdimensional escapades for 30 long years. And much to Bill's dismay, not much progress was made over this 30 years. Why? Because no pawn was good enough. Although, Stan did open up Ford's house to the public, transforming it into the tourist attraction known as the Mystery Shack, which in turn exposed the citizens of Gravity Falls to Ford's lingering Bill Cipher imagery. This in itself kind of caused Bill to become a very quiet mascot, as he can be seen all over the town in seasons 1 and 2. Graffiti, arcade machines, currency, his influence was everywhere, and I would 100% pin this on the Mystery Shack. However, it's going to be tough for Bill to find a curious cat because of the Society of the Blind Eye, an organization whose entire purpose is erasing unpleasant or bad memories. When it comes to all the supernatural activity in Gravity Falls, the chance of someone questioning the things around them was slim because those memories can just be erased in an instant. Not to mention the effects of the Blind Eye's memory gun can really dumb someone down, so Bill's qualifications for an ideal pawn was out the window until an outsider came into the mix and stuck around. Because keep in mind, although the Mystery Shack does attract tourists, they're not gonna hang around long enough for Bill to swoop in. Yet, the arrival of Dipper and Mabel Pines changed everything. Dipper was someone who questioned the unknown, who craved knowledge, and wanted to learn more about the world around him. And because of all the depictions of Bill around town, I'm sure he was well aware of Dipper and his arrival for a long time. However, he was hesitant to engage with Dipper due to his correlation with the Zodiac that could vanquish Bill. However, everyone would get a little push once Gideon Gleeful came into the mix. Equipped with Journal Number 2, Gideon summoned Bill Cipher in a mission to obtain the deed to the Mystery Shack, thus being able to take over. Bill, realizing that Gideon is clouded with vengeance and directly involved with the Pines family, made him the best pawn in 30 years, where he can still weasel his way to the portal. Not to mention, I doubt Bill was only keeping tabs on Gravity Falls, but Earth and the human race in general. I don't believe that 30 years was just spent looking around Gravity Falls, but looking around everywhere for any kind of pawn. However, once the events of Dreamscaperers actually got into the mix, Bill was able to directly interact with Dipper, Mabel, and Zeus, causing Bill to deduce that those involved in the Zodiac that could be responsible for his downfall, they're either kids or not the sharpest tool in the shed. Thus, they aren't people he should avoid, they're pawns he can control. Not to mention, imagine being in Stan's mind probably gave him some very valuable information. Alas, the plans of Gideon fall through. Bill faces off against Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss, almost loses, but it reminds everyone who's in control when it comes to the mindscape. I imagine being in Stanley's mind is also how Bill got the information that Stan is still trying to activate the portal, trying to bring Ford back, and thus unknowingly allowing Bill to enter through the third dimension should the portal actually be strong enough to connect directly with the Nightmare Realm. Because of this, Bill has to make sure that Dipper doesn't interfere, that the portal goes off without a hitch. So after peeping around town, keeping his eye on Dipper, Bill makes himself known for the first time in season 2 during the episode Sock Opera, turning Dipper's quest for answers against him, much like with MODOK, Ford, and Gideon, hijacking Dipper's body and destroying McGucket's laptop, which would have given away the identity of the author and thus causing a Pines family intervention, which in itself could have entertained the notion of the portal potentially being shut down, and thus screwing Bill out of his plans. After screwing around with Dipper and Mabel for a bit, Bill is ultimately outsmarted by Mabel as she pits Dipper's body against Bill, and Cipher teases that big things are coming, returning to the shadows. Of course, the portal does eventually go off, but it is still way too unstable and is only strong enough to bring back Ford. However, as a result of the portal activating, a new interdimensional rift was created, Bill's ticket to Weirdmageddon, and thus re-reach the climax of his plan. Aware of Ford's return and the interdimensional rift, Bill feels as if victory is already in his hands, after being summoned by an imprisoned Gideon Gleeful who just faced a crushing defeat at the hands of Dipper and Mabel. Bill's deal with Gideon occurred off screen, but we can't connect enough dots. Gideon wanted freedom, and in exchange, he would have to pledge allegiance to Bill, promising to become his servant once Weirdmageddon arrives. However, Bill makes one fatal mistake. He gets cocky. Bill mockingly visits Ford in his dreams. Although Ford's metal plate prevents possession, I guess dreams just aren't off limits. As Bill taunts Ford over his recent deal with Gideon, and how that sooner than later, Weirdmageddon will be here. This causes Ford to go absolutely supernova. Spilling his origin to Dipper, the two create a magical unicorn barrier around the mystery shack, preventing Bill from possessing anyone who enters those quarters. And generally, Dipper and Ford are on their toes, awaiting for Bill's next move. If Bill just kept his mouth shut, if he didn't pay that visit to Ford, things could have gone down a lot differently in Cipher's favor. But no, he had to be a prideful asshole. But remember what I said about Bill keeping an eye on the Pines family, and that any depiction of him serves as another gateway for him to see through? All of that gave him more options. In keeping an eye on Dipper and Mabel, he was able to find another pawn ripe for the taking. We know him. I don't know if everyone loves him, but it's local time-traveling screw-up Blendon. If you ever wonder what happened between Bill and Blendon, but you never got the answers, you never were able to pick up Journal 3, well, then I have the answers for you. You see, Blendon works for one of Bill's greatest adversaries, Time Baby. Blendon is also the butt of every joke. He's a punching bag for the Time Police. And after losing Globnar to Dipper and Mabel, the heckling towards Blendon doubled. Although he got his job back, he was still being teased and put down by coworkers. Time Baby himself called him no friend in Blendon. And because Blendon time traveled back to Gravity Falls so often, Bill was able to successfully infiltrate his mind and wait for the right moment. Bill manifested inside Blendon's dreams, claiming that he could make sure Time Baby would never bother him again. Oh god. All Blendon had to do was shake Bill's hand. Under pressure and desperate for Time Baby's respect, Blendon accepted, becoming the perfect pawn for this particular job because, well, he kinda has infinite do-overs on account of time travel. Recognizing the cracks in Dipper and Mabel's relationship due to his previous observations of the two, the rest came pretty easy to Bill. Just sit back, relax, and wait for them to fall apart. Dipper and Mabel have their big fight, Mabel takes the wrong backpack with the rift inside, and Bill is able to time travel to her aid. Inside Blendon's body, Bill manipulates Mabel into an offer she can't refuse, a summer that will never end. She never has to grow up and things never have to change between her and her brother. Of course, it's all bullshit. Bill just needed to get his hands on the rift, and as soon as he does, he destroys it, unleashing Weirdmageddon. You guys know the rest from here. Bill unleashes Weirdmageddon. He's at the top of his game, ruling Gravity Falls with an iron fist, throwing a party that never ends. He kills Time Baby, so he delivered on his promise to Blendon, although Time Baby really deserves his own video. But after being caught in Gravity Falls' law of weirdest magnetism, I hate that term, I really wish they came up with something less goofy, Bill turns to Ford for help. Of course, Ford is all, nah man. Dipper and Mabel are able to save the day. They're able to rescue everyone. Try the Zodiac. It fails because of Stan and Ford. Bill goes inside the wrong Stan's mind. Stanley gets his memory erased, and Bill is defeated. However, in his final moments, Bill calls out to the Axolotl. And this is where I want to wrap it back to the beginning. In Dipper and Mabel Curse of the Time Pirates, the almighty Axolotl reveals that Bill Cipher does miss his home. There is some level of regret, but in order to atone for his sins, he has to take a different form in a different time, which I believe to be King from the Owl House. Although I wasn't the biggest fan of Bill during Weirdmageddon, like part 1, he's amazing. Part 2, I got tired of the frat stick and now lack of a plan, but I gotta say, Mabel's bubble was a genius invention. His only downfall, it was that he didn't consider the idea of Dipper growing, Dipper maturing, and by extension, being able to snap his sister out of it, having Mabel realize how much she's grown and matured, and the group coming back together stronger than ever. Again, Bill's cockiness was his downfall. If he just petrified Dipper or petrified Mabel, he wouldn't have had to worry, but he wanted to see them struggle. He didn't think they were that big of a threat to the point where they could undermine all of his efforts. And that's what did him in. But for everything else, I can't help but to love Bill as a villain. He's hilarious, he's insane, he's all powerful, but above all else, he knows how to read people. He knows how to spot weakness, and he knows how to turn that weakness into an advantage for himself. Was he short-sighted? Of course. He only has one eye, but for what it was worth, he's a man who knows how to get what he wants, even if he is potentially a weird skull cat demon thing now. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. What do you think? How did you feel about Bill Cipher's plan throughout the entire series? Did you learn anything new? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, or tweet your thoughts at Roundtable Vids. And for more of my own thoughts, you can find me at AwestruckThoughts. We're also on Instagram. Special thanks to JANKYBONES for creating an awesome thumbnail. For more of their amazing art, you can find them on Tumblr at JANKYBONES, Twitter and Instagram at BoneJanky, and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Link in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please throw a like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. AwestruckThoughts, signing out.